W, X, Y, Z.
Part 1, production number 1506, recorded the 30th of August, 72, take 1.
15. With Mrs. Bridges' compliments, Mr. Hudson.
Oh, thank you, Edward. Put it down over there, will you?
All right if I go now, Mr. Hudson?
Have you down in the dining room?
Yeah, I'll pull away.
And what fortunate young woman has the honour of your company this afternoon, may I ask?
Oh, I'm not meeting my girl today, Mr. Hudson. Not with Fulham playing Manchester United at Craven Cottage.
Oh, you better hurry up. It's less than an hour to kick off.
Oh, well, I'll get the omnibus down the King's Road. It should be a good game.
Aye, aye.
Oh, cheer up, Mr. Hudson. Chelsea will be in the First Division one day.
Oh, how are you going now?
Thanks, Mr. Hudson.
The drawing room.
I thought they'd gone out.
The master's gone out. Lady Marjorie's still upstairs.
Oh, well. No race for the wicked. You rang, my lady.
Oh, yes, Hudson. Close the door, will you?
My lady.
I've just had confirmation from Buckingham Palace that His Majesty the King will be dining here on Thursday evening.
I understand, my lady.
We shall be 10. Perhaps you'd see about getting in a waiter to help in the dining room.
Very good, my lady.
I'll see Mrs. Bridges about the menu on Monday morning.
Very good, my lady. If I might make a suggestion.
Yes?
It might be best not to inform the rest of the staff until nearer the time.
Yes, they might talk about it outside. Then we'd have a large crowd in front of the house when the King arrived. I leave it to you to tell them when you think fit.
Very good, my lady. Will Her Majesty be dining?
No, Hudson. The Queen does not play bridge. A lady has been invited in her place.
I understand, my lady.
That'll be all, thank you. I'm sorry to disturb your Saturday afternoon, but it seemed only fair to warn you well in advance.
I very much appreciate the timely notice.
Hudson, you must regard this as just an ordinary dinner party like any other.
I'm sure the staff will prove equal to the occasion, my lady.
What's she doing telling you before me?
Our ladyship saw fit to inform me first, Mrs. Bridges, owing to the special nature of the party. There is to be a distinguished guest.
Not Mr. Asquith?
No, it's not Mr. Asquith.
No Mr. Balfour? Oh, nothing special about him. He's been here many a time before.
No.
Oh, is it that Marquis de Savaron?
The Portuguese ambassador, no. Nor is it Dr. W.G. Grace, nor Miss Vesta Tilly. Our guest of honour, Mrs. Bridges, is to be none other than His Majesty King Edward VII.
The King?
Defender of the faith, Emperor of India, and the dominions beyond the seas.
The King?
In person, and that's for your ears only at present, Mrs. Bridges.
Oh, good gracious me, why did you say so? Oh, God bless my soul. King of England coming to dinner here. Oh, quail. That's his favourite dish. I remember reading about it in the Woman's Journal. Oh, now, if only I can find that receipt.
Well, you better get in plenty of food. I'm told the old man eats like a cart horse.
It's not very respectful.
I respect the institution of monarchy, as you well know, Mrs. Bridges, even if I do have certain reservations about the person of the sovereign.
He's all right. Loose liver he may be, but he's popular enough.
I'm not referring to the present king's character. My quarrel is with the Hanoverian succession. As a Scot, I would naturally prefer to see a Stuart on the throne. Still, I suppose we'll just have to make do with what we've got.
Stuff and nonsense. Where would this country be without Queen Victoria? You tell me that.
I don't believe in discussing an hypothesis.
You can call him what you like, but he's our king. And he's coming here to dinner on Thursday. God bless his soul.
And I haven't told you a thing, do you understand? When our ladyship informed you on Monday morning, for heaven's sake, act surprised.
Oh, milady, what a surprise. Oh, dear, I am pleased.
It is rather exciting, isn't it, Mrs. Bridges?
Yes, milady. And such an honour to cook for the King of England.
As you know, he's very fond of his food.
Yes, milady.
And I have here a list of his favourite dishes. So I thought we'd go through them to see which we should have.
Yes, I have a receipt here, milady, that I cut out of the ladies' journal for quail, milady. Quail souffle done à la Valenciennes.
Edward? What's all this you've been telling Reuben?
Well, only what Mrs. Bridges told me, Roberts.
Listening at keyholes again.
No, I haven't. Why, isn't it true, then?
Suppose it must be. I don't know why Mr. Hudson hasn't told any of us.
Well, I don't want it to leak out, I reckon.
Zoe, what's the harm?
In case some anarchist gets to hear about it and plants a bomb in the coal cellar.
Oh, Edward, don't.
Well, by the time Teddy gets here for his dinner, it's going to be all over London, isn't it? I mean, you're going to have mounted police outside, keeping back the crowds.
Reporters from the newspapers, photographers, and...
You're going to have detectives running about all over the house.
Well, I still feel I ought to give him the quail, milady.
Yes, I know you do, Mrs. Bridges, but I do assure you he has quail at every other house he dines at.
Very good, milady. Well, what do you suggest?
Well, I suggest we play safe with guinea fowl. And for a main dish, you do the thing you really excel at, the Baron of Lamb. Now, there's nobody to touch you for lamb, and you know it.
Very well, milady. So, after the ptarmigan pie, Baron of Lamb, all nice and juicy and tender. And then, with that, if I may suggest, pomme frou-frou and petit pois. And then the sorbet.
Oh, and by the way, the sauce for the poached salmon.
Oh, I thought I'd make the Maydock sauce, milady, like I made for the French ambassador. Do you remember? Yes. And then, after the sorbet, the guinea fowl. With asparagus, with hollandaise sauce, and then the meringues and the gâteau, and the dressed prawns for savoury, milady.
Yes, that'll do. And you'll ask Hudson to telephone to Jackson's for the peaches. And, of course, the caviar and the Royal Native oysters to begin with before the soup.
Very good, milady.
Morning, Miss Bridges.
Oh, morning, sir.
We've just been discussing the menu for Thursday evening, and Mrs. Bridges is going to surpass herself, aren't you, Mrs. Bridges?
I'll do my very best, milady.
I'm sure you will.
Thank you, sir.
Jack Alexander tells me if H.M. likes a dish well enough, he'll have 3 to 4 helpings. We better warn out Hudson to offer it round and round and round. Let's hope the wretched man doesn't get giddy.
I had a most charming letter from Mrs. Keppel, saying how much she's looking forward to meeting us and seeing the house. She's evidently a great admirer of yours.
Well, that's very gratifying. I've caught sight of her once or twice in the Strangers' Gallery during important debates. Her complexion is a marvel. The others been approved?
Yes.
Why does the king want those potty old wanderers asked?
Well, the old boy did govern a number of dreadfully hot colonies all his life. Oh, yes, and Jack said if we put them against the king and Mrs. Keppel at bridge, the sovereign will be bound to win, which always delights him. I do hope Millicent Hartfield will be all right.
Well, why not? She's witty, very attractive.
Yes, to you, darling, I know, but her stories are sometimes quite endless.
Is she sitting next to him?
She's sitting next to me, naturally. But you'll buttonhole him after dinner unless I keep a sharp eye on her.
I shall be fascinated to see you and Millicent fighting over the king.
Don't be silly.
I've heard tell you're one of the few women in London who amuse him. And he's made inquiries as to whether you're happily married. So what else?
Jack says he'll arrive at 8:25, and would we give the detective some refreshment? Apparently he has to stay in the house all the evening.
He's not bringing his own footman.
No, just Jack as equerry and the detective. It's to be strictly informal.
Well, the servants won't think so.
No, they're terribly keyed up downstairs.
I thought they weren't going to be told until the day before.
They managed to find out somehow. They always do.
The Hochheimer 97 and the Nguyen Chen d'André Imperial. Yes. And then with the entree, the Chateau Brown Cantonac 93. Cantonac 93. And the port, sir. We've still got some of the Dow 78. Decant 4 bottles, will you? Very good, sir.
Spoon for caviar soup, spoon, fish knife, entree knife, main course knife, savoury knife, spoon for meringue dessert soup, small fork, entree fork, main course fork, fork meringue dessert fork. Spoon for caviar soup, spoon, fish knife, entree.
Oh, when you're done, Edward, fetch the fruit knives and forks and the finger bowls and set them on the sideboard. Oh, and while you're about to bring 3 more salt cellars from the silver cupboard. Yes?
Please, Miss Russell.
Oh, yes. There you are.
Dessert fork. That's the cutlery done, Mr. Hudson. Shall I do the place cards now?
If you've got her ladyship's seating plan.
No, you got it.
Have I?
Yes, I saw you put it in the pocket of your apron.
Oh, yes, of course, how silly of me. Right, we'll start here at her ladyship's place on the king's right. There will be no place card for his majesty.
On his right, Lady Marjorie Bellamy,
Lady Wanborough on his left.
Countess of Wanborough.
Then, oh, excuse me, please, Mr. Then, Sir John Alexander. He's the equerry. Then Lady Prudence Fairfax next to the master.
Oh, she should keep him amused, help him forget his nerves.
That, I suspect, was her ladyship's reason for placing Lady Prudence on the master's right. Now comes Mrs. Hartfield. Then comes the Admiral.
Admiral Sir William Collett.
And Mrs. George Keppel here.
Oh, don't she have to sit next to him?
Not necessarily, Rose. Lord Crewe's butler tells me that she is often placed on informal occasions such as these opposite the king, so that if His Majesty becomes bored with his dinner companion, Mrs. Keppel can enter the conversation and restore the situation.
Oh.
And on her left, the Earl of Wanderer.
Where shall I put them, Mr. Hudson?
Oh, wait, one down at the far end, one in the middle, one down here, Edward. Space them out evenly now. No, that's too close to the candelabra. A wee bit more to your right. A wee bit more. That's fine.
Just think, in a few hours from now, the King of England's posterior shall occupy this very chair.
This is hardly the moment for such reflection, Rose. You've still got the flowers to do in the drawing room, the coffee tray, all the polishing in the front hall, and the landing in the drawing room.
Sorry, Mr. Hudson, just a bit of fun, steady me nerves.
There is no need to be nervous, Rose. If you just keep your head and do as I say, the hard waiter will help you out.
I still don't understand why I can't wait at table, same as I always do.
His Majesty objects to female servants waiting at the table. You will have ample opportunity of witnessing the dinner from behind the screen, where you will remain out of sight, collecting the empty plates and placing them quietly in the service book.
Yes, Mr. Hudson. I think the King's mean.
And you better tell him that yourself.
That's right, Rose. You tell him, I dare you.
All right, I will.
Eh?
Your Majesty, I am Rose, head house parlour maid, and I think it's very mean of you not to let us female servants wait at table. I always thought you rather liked having women around.
Rose!
Here, would you like me to sit on your knee?
Get out of that chair at once!
All right, I'll ask Mrs. Keppel. She's a nice lady. She'll put in a word for us. Aye, let's have a word with
Come
the
on, Rose, that'll do. Come on, off you go now, both of you. Quick, I want to lock up. Chop, chop.
I told my friend to be here at 7, my lady, if that's convenient. It's Mrs. Fawcett's lady's maid from next door.
Yes, of course, Robert.
I've told her you wouldn't mind if we watched from the best bedroom landing.
Oh, but aren't you going to let her help you downstairs with the ladies' cloaks?
I didn't know I was to help with the cloaks, my lady.
Of course you are. Edward will see to the gentlemen while Hudson takes the guests up to announce them. Your friend can help you.
But Mr. Hudson said nothing to me about helping with the cloaks, my lady, not a word.
I probably forgot. He's had a lot on his mind.
Yes, my lady. Well, if you say so.
I don't like those. They're too fussy. Bring me the others.
Very good, my lady. I mean, unless Mr. Hudson tells me himself, I mean, he's supposed to be in charge downstairs.
No, don't like those either. Let's try the filigree necklace.
Yes, my lady. Well, I've no wish to be in his way unless he asks me to help with the cloaks. It's up to him, I mean.
Yes, I'll wear these.
Well, it's not normally my place to be downstairs in the hall when there's a dinner party. You should tell me if there's other arrangements to be made than what is usual.
Roberts, will you please stop fussing about the ladies' cloaks? You're to see to them in the library whether Hudson tells you to or forgets to tell you to. Now, is that clear?
Yes, my lady.
Now, my earrings that go with this, please. We haven't very much time.
Very good.
Is that done then, Mrs.
Oh,
Bridges?
stop asking silly questions, girl. And give me the vinegar, quick. I'm going to look this up.
Better stop that now, Rose, and get ready. It's gone 7:30. I trust you've got a clean apron and cap to wear.
Of course I have, Mr. Hudson. Not that anyone will notice. Not if I'm hidden behind that screen.
Gracious of my boy.
We're off then, Mr. Hudson.
So it would seem, Edward. At least we're understaffed as always. Good evening, my lady.
Am I the first?
Yes, my lady.
Well, I came early, oh, good evening, Roberts, to be sure of not arriving after the king, which would be quite dreadful.
His Majesty is not due until 8:25, my lady.
Ah, that's all right, then.
I do hope they're all going to be punctual.
Don't worry, darling, they will be.
Lady Prudence Fairfax, my lady. Prue.
Trust old Prue to be first.
Thank heaven it's you.
Richard's so nervous, you think we were living in the Middle Ages and the royal displeasure would land us on the chopping block.
Yes, we've had the joke once. How's your curtsy, Prudence?
Oh, it's all right going down, a bit wobbly coming up. I'm always afraid my right knee will crack like a pistol shot. Well, it happened to poor Sylvia Lister's daughter, you know, when she was presented at court. The story goes the Russian ambassador dived for the floor, fearing an assassin's bullet.
Mrs. Hartfield.
My dears, there's a tremendous crowd outside. Such excitement for them. I hear Mrs. Keppel is coming. I'm so looking forward to meeting her. She's a close friend of the Wiltshires, you know, who are, of course, great friends of ours. What? Oh, champagne, thank you. Ah, splendido. My dears, I was at Retby for the weekend, and Tubby Westaway had us in fits with a new riddle that he'd heard out with the corn. Now, what is the difference between your last will and testament and a man who has eaten as much as he can?
What is?
One is signed and dated, and the other is signed and sated.
Lord and Lady Wanborough, my lady.
Maud, dear, how
How
lovely to see
kind
you.
of you.
And Togs.
Well, Marjorie, my dear.
You're in the way now, Ruby. I'll pop on a clean apron and run upstairs and see the king arriving. Well, look sharp, girl. You run into them in the hall.
Thanks, Mrs. Bridges.
Ruby, where are you going?
Up to London, milady. Mrs. Bridges said I could go and peep over at Bannister's.
That's right, of course you may. What is the time?
I make it 24 minutes past. Any moment now, Hudson. Yes, sir. Is my tie straight?
Perfect. Listen.
Here he is now. Open the door, Hudson. Sweet plate, sweet.
Keep your hair on.
Here you are, Mr. Williams.
More plates down, Mrs. Bridges.
Oh, thanks for the scurrying wash them up. Oh, no, put these in the lift first. Savoury plates. Oh.
Truthful, sir, we very rarely go racing. Though last July we were asked to win at Newmarket, and my husband had a bet on one of your horses, which alas didn't win. 2-year-old, I think it was.
Which was that, Lady Marjorie?
Oh, dear.
Must have been Minoru. We raced him very lightly last season. A well-bred colt, but a late developer. Back him for the derby, Lady Marjorie.
Lady Wandsworth's brother had a number of horses in training at one time. Isn't that so, Maud? Maud?
Perhaps you are too tired for conversation, Lady Wandsworth.
Oh, no. Oh, no, sir. I'm so sorry. I had no idea you were addressing me.
Dear lady, I'm tired myself from visiting my nephew, the German Emperor, in Hamburg. Sea was rough, train rattled, and there were too many pulls.
My dear, I'm told she rides about like a worm on a hook and skips across the stage like a kangaroo, dressed in nothing but the flimsiest pieces of chiffon. With a good pair of opera glasses, they say you can see her body as though she were dressed in nothing at all.
I feel sure you must be speaking of Maud Allen.
No, I wasn't actually. I was talking of that other woman, Isadora Duncan. Both equally shocking, my dear. And whilst we're on that subject, some of the clothes in Paris this year, my dear, the way things are going, we shall soon be dining out stark naked, all of us.
I don't think so, do you, Prudence?
Well, not in my house, Richard. It's far too drafty.
Tell me, Admiral, have you seen this Duncan woman dance?
He was my first cousin. Oh, no, I'm wrong, sir. My second cousin. And he was the one that married Cicely Grant, who was old Lady Morley's sister. No, her sister-in-law. Yes, that's right.
Quite so.
Yes, and she married the Dean of Exeter. Or was it his brother? Well, anyway, he was a Sterling, and they came from Berwickshire. They had a very large...
You'll forgive me interrupting, Lady Wanda, but I think we must ask the King to settle now. So you really must help us out.
With the greatest pleasure, my dear Alice.
Jack was telling me that Alfred Northcliffe's mother had 14 children. Is it possible?
Yes, I believe it's true. Imagine 14 Lord Northcliffes. One is hard enough to bear.
You know you like him. You often said so.
Just because I arrange a peerage for a man, it does not mean I have to like him. I do not approve that a newspaper man should have such power. It is not healthy.
Oh, I wish he'd sit down. My feet are quite numb.
If he doesn't settle in a few minutes, I'll get Jack to do something about it.
Millicent Hartfield looks as if she's going to dance a fandango with him at any minute. Every time she takes a step towards him, he takes a step back. He'll soon be pinned to the wall like a butterfly.
Such a pretty room, Lady Margaret. I do think you've been so clever with the colours.
I'm afraid the King is being bored to death by Millicent Hartfield. I think we ought to rescue him.
How?
I'd suggest bridge.
And the other one is a very
What are you going to do with that? Smoke it?
Sell it?
Oh, who do they think they are? If you don't stop ringing that bell, I'll get Miss Hudson to get the police to you.
Why can't King's detective go and shoo them away? Well, isn't that what he's here for?
Good heavens, Ruby, what are you thinking of? The royal detective would never demean himself to go out and speak to common people in the street. He's sitting in Mr. Hudson's pantry on his backside with his feet up.
Who's ringing the bell this time of night?
Oh, it's probably some newspaper reporters wanting a story from the servants. You know, how I served the King of England to 2 helpings of Baron of Lamb by Edward Footman to Lady Marjorie.
Peer out and see who it is.
Who, me?
Let's look out the window.
Can you see anyone?
Well, not properly. I think it's a woman, but she's got a shawl all over her head. I can't see her face.
What's going on?
There's someone at that door, Mr. Hudson.
There are several people at the back door, Ruby. That's no reason for you all to stop your work and gawk like them
Well,
outside.
it's a woman all muffled up, and she keeps on ringing the bell.
Maybe it's Matty come for a clipping.
Not at this hour. Matty only comes north.
Shall I unbolt the door and see, Mr. Hudson? I mean, if it is someone trying to get a peep at the king, I can always send her away with a flea in her ear.
Oh, very well, Edward. Unlock the door. But be very careful. We don't want any unauthorized persons busting in.
We was never going to have enough perishing door.
Yummy! Here, it's Sarah!
What? Here she down. She's down. Sit down. Come on.
What is he doing here?
Come back there with me old mate. What's the matter,
Does Lady Southwold know you're here?
No. No, Mrs. Clay, no ever.
Have you run away from Southwold after all they done for you?
I couldn't stick it down there, Mrs. Bridges, no longer, honest. No one ever talked to me. They was all very kind, but no one ever said a word to me from one day to the next. I just sat in that cottage window and stared out at nothing. No shops, no streets with people going by, or motor cars, just green fields and perishing trees. It was horrible.
Yeah, how'd you get the money for the fair?
I borrowed it off of Jack Marshall, one of the blokes that works on the farm.
I remember Jack Marshall. He always was soft in the head.
I walked all the way from Paddington, all across the park in my tight shoes. Oh,
What is it, Sarah?
it's all right. It's just a baby. It'll pass.
Now, come along, all of you. Edward, Ruby, get out of here. There's work to be done. Sarah, you'll just have to wait until something can be done about you.
Yes, Sarah. King of England's upstairs playing bridge.
What is that about? Somebody told me in the street. What a night to choose, eh? The King and Alice couple.
I had to hide behind a screen, Sarah.
He was especially pleased with my Baron of Lamb.
Yes, well, be that as it may, you'll have to keep well out of the way, Sarah, until His Majesty and the other guests have departed. I'm not going to have this house disrupted tonight.
Where do you think you're going to sleep, eh?
Well, Rose, I thought maybe...
Oh, you did you?
She's not going to sleep in this house tonight, not without her ladyship's permission, and that's final.
Oh, please,
That
Mr.
is final, Sarah.
Mr. Hudson, her ladyship would never allow it now anyway. Not now I've skipped from Southwold. I'll be turned out on the streets and it's ever such a cold night, Mr. Hudson. Please! Oh,
She's in terrible pain.
Rose! I think it's coming now.
Are you sure, Sarah?
Just write it on. I know her of old. All this agony just to get a bed for the night. If you ask me, she ought to be packed straight back to Southwold.
I just want to get a train this time, haven't I?
Well, first thing in the morning, then.
Answer me, Sarah. Are you really in pain?
Get us a towel, will you, Rose? Oh,
Here, listen, Sarah. You can tell me something.
yeah, I think they have. It's what Mrs. Clay said might happen when the baby was on the way, so I think it's coming.
Mr. Hudson.
Edward, get your coat on. Go down to Chesham Street, fetch Dr. Foley. Look sharp now. You and Mrs. Bridges stay down here with Sarah. Keep her warm. Get some blankets. I shall go upstairs and inform her ladyship.
You'd like a nice cup of tea, wouldn't you, dear?
Yes, please, Mr.
Yes,
Bridges.
well, you just sit there as quiet as you can.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rose.
I think the only thing I can do about that is
Begging your pardon, my lady.
Yes, Hanson.
Might I have a word with you privately?
What is it? Has something happened?
There is a situation requiring your attention below stairs. It is rather urgent, my lady.
I'm so sorry about this. Prudence, will you ask Lady Wanbird to take my hand? Please forgive me.
I thought you'd wish to be informed that Sarah is downstairs.
Sarah?
The girl appears to have started labour. Her child, my lady. I've taken the liberty of sending Edward out to fetch Dr. Foley.
Oh, my God.
She's in the servants' hall. Mrs. Bridges and Rose are seeing to her.
But she'll have to go at once to some hospital.
I'm afraid there is no time to get her to a lying-in hospital, my lady. Things are already well underway.
Go back into the drawing room, offer them drinks, and let me know the instant the king looks like leaving.
Very good, my lady.
You ought never to have come here, not in your condition. You ought to have stopped where you was in Southwold.
I know that, Rose, but it's no good saying it now, is it?
Poor girl, is the pain very bad?
Don't get
I'm
up.
sorry, my lady.
Sarah, are you quite sure the baby's coming?
Yes, my lady, the pains are very strong and regular now.
Edward's gone for the doctor, my lady.
Yes, I know. Rose, is the bed made up in the attic room, the one next to Ruby's?
Well, it won't take me 2 minutes to put clean sheets on it, lady.
Send Ruby up with a hot water bottle.
Yes, my lady.
Now, come along, Sarah. We must get you upstairs and into bed. Can you walk?
Who's that?
Hold on to me, Sarah.
Yeah, Doctor... Oh, Dr. Foley's on his way, my lady.
Thank you, Edward.
That's the drawing room, my lady.
If that's the king leaving...
Shall I go up and see?
No, Edward Hudson's up there. Come on, we must get Sarah upstairs quickly.
The detective is wanted, my lady. His Majesty is about to leave.
We must get Sarah upstairs. Edward, fetch the detective. He'll have to go out and warn His Majesty's chauffeur.
Yes, ma'am.
Hudson, will you take Sarah?
Good, my lady.
Wait until the detective gets upstairs and go very quietly past the drawing room. I'll go on ahead and try and gain a little time.
Yes, my lady. Right, quickly. front door.
Must be Dr. Foley.
Oh, Rose, take back, Sarah. Quickly now. Quickly. I'll come and tell you when the coast is clear.
It's ever so exciting, isn't it, eh? Like a game of hide and seek. Try not to talk. Blind me.
A most delightful evening, Lady Marjorie.
Good night, sir.
Bellamy, thank you. I enjoyed my bridge.
We're very honoured, sir.
Hudson, thank the door.
We'd better take her straight to the young woman's room and ask someone to fetch hot water cleaned up.
I'm so sorry about that, sir. One of my servants was taken ill and the doctor had to be sent for in a hurry.
We do apologise, sir.
The fellow asked me to accompany him to some young woman's bedroom. Who do you suppose he thought I was?
Good night. Thank you, Hudson. You better go straight up and tell Dr. Foley I'll come as soon as I can.
Very good, my lady. Edward, downstairs.
Marjorie, Sarah or no Sarah, we'll just go back to the drawing room.
Sarah is our responsibility. You said so yourself. And besides, in a few hours' time, you and I are going to be grandparents. Have you thought of that?
Take deep breaths, young lady. You'll find it'll help. Go with the pain. Don't try to fight it.
Hold on to me, sir. There's a good girl. Is the pain very bad?
It shouldn't be too long now.
Congratulations, Marjorie. It all went off quite splendidly, didn't it?
Thank you.
I think he's wonderful, considering he's not well.
I'm afraid he was very tired tonight. That cough must take it out of him a lot.
It's all those endless cigars, my dear. They killed my brother Rupert, you know. He had a chest, too. Ah, well. Good night.
Good night.
And thank you so much. Good night, Richard. It was splendid. Good night, Prudence.
Good night, my dear.
Good night.
Thank you, Roberts.
Good night, my lady.
Good night, Hudson.
My lord. Good night. Good night.
Thank you. I hope you managed to get a glimpse of the king.
Oh, yes, madam. We saw the guests go down to dinner from Her Ladyship's bedroom landing. It was quite a thrill.
I'm so glad.
Good night, madam.
Good night.
Excuse me, Mr. Hudson. Could you ask her ladyship? Only I'm not allowed in the drawing room.
What is it, Rose?
She's wanted upstairs.
Wanted upstairs? Who by?
That's a private matter, Miss Roberts. Has your friend gone yet?
Yes, she has.
Then why don't you go up to your room? Her ladyship won't be needing you yet a while.
There's still one lady's wrap left in the library.
And you'll have to wait down here, won't you? I expect it's Lady Prudence. I'm sure she hasn't left yet.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hudson. Only Dr. Foley said her ladyship should come up now, at once.
Very well, Rose. I'll see to it.
Then poor old Togg's Wanderer revoked, twice, and finally dropped the entire pack of cards on the floor while he was kneeling. I thought the king would have an apoplectic fit. Yes, well, I can see you're plainly waiting to be rid of old Prue. First to come, last to leave, and plainly dying for your beds. So I'll depart.
Beg pardon, my lady, but Dr. Foley is asking for you upstairs.
Yes, all right, Hudson. I'll come in a minute.
Dr. Foley, who's ill?
One of the servants.
Really?
I'm sorry, Prue. I'll have to go up.
Oh, well, if it's that urgent. Not your cook, I hope.
Mrs. Bridges now. One of the younger servants.
Oh, probably the excitement of having the king in the house. What is it, Richard? Are you ill?
No. Do you mind if I pour myself whisky and soda?
Of course not.
Prudence is one of our oldest friends. There's something I'd like you to know. Our grandchild is being born upstairs. James's child.
Would you rather not say those?
I must, dear my lady.
It may be hurts you.
I've got to learn.
Oh, it's nearly 2 o'clock.
Oh, leave all that now, Reuben. Go to bed.
I've nearly done, Mrs. Bridges.
You better go to bed, Edward.
Oh, I don't think I could sleep, Mr. Hudson.
Oh, very well.
She's all right.
And the baby?
It was a little boy.
That's that.
Perhaps it was for the best, after all.
That poor wretched little creature. Will you write to James and tell him?
As far as James is concerned, the matter was over and forgotten the day he left for India.
James has a right to know that his child died.
Why upset him? Unnecessarily.
Because I know him quite well enough to be sure that he'd want to be told.
And I know you well enough, Marjorie dear, to know you should go to your bed. And I'm away to mine.
I'm glad you know, Prue. It's good to share those sort of secrets with an old friend.
I only wish I could do something.
You'll be more than a help. Good night, my dear.
Good night.
Hudson, Lady Prudence is leaving. Send Roberts up to her ladyship's room, and you may go to bed yourself.
Thank you, sir.
Hudson, thank you for all your help.
My lady.
Will I be sent back to Southwold?
No, Sarah, not now. You'll stay here and get your strength back.
Thank you, my lady.
And when Dr. Foley says you can get up, I thought you might undertake a little light work around the house. You know, just sewing, mending linen, just to keep you occupied during the day.
Yes, I see. Will I be like a servant? I'm not saying I shouldn't be, it's just that where will I put myself?
Well, I have discussed that very carefully with Mr. Bellamy and with Hudson. Since you left us and went on the stage, you are, of course, a young woman of, well, private status. And your relationship with my son, which I think we should put out of our minds from now on, gave you certain rights, as my husband and Sir Geoffrey explained. But in any case, Sarah, we'd like you to feel that there's a home for you here for as long as you want to stay.
Thank you, my lady.
Difficulty, of course, is where you're to sit and have your meals. As you say, where to put yourself.
Couldn't I go back downstairs with my friends? At least they was my friends.
Well,
you see, at the moment I'm neither upstairs nor really downstairs, am I? I'm what you might be calling in between, my lady.
Don't worry about it, Sarah. I'll have a word with Hudson and then we'll see.
Yes. Lady Marjorie?
Yes, Sarah.
Why are you being so good to me when I've been nothing but trouble to you ever since I come here?
Try and go to sleep. This good girl. Well, I think it's a disgrace giving house room to that slut.
Well, it would be rather awkward, wouldn't it, after all that's happened?
Well, why should we have to put up with her?
She's got to have her meals somewhere, Miss Roberts. She certainly can't have them upstairs with them.
And it wouldn't be you what had to take the trays up neither.
Well, I think we ought... We don't want to know what you think, Ruby.
After all she's done and the shame she's brought up on us all.
What shame has she brought on you, Miss Roberts?
She's a stuck-up, lying minx. Thinks she's better than any of us. Puts on airs. Gets Captain James into such trouble that he has to be sent to India. Then she thinks she can walk in here as though nothing has happened.
We're none of us perfect, Miss Roberts.
Oh, have a heart, Miss Roberts. How would you like to
I wouldn't be ever in such a disgusting position in anyone's house.
I'll bet.
How dare you
I
speak to me
put
like
it to
that?
all that Sarah, for all her faults, for all the upsets and troubles she's brought upon this house, is nonetheless capable of better things. She is an able seamstress, and she's possessed of a cheerful disposition. Unfortunately, as a maid here, she developed ideas well above her station in life, and she fell from grace. Aided and abetted, I regret to say, by the son of this noble house, who, in my opinion, should have known better than to allow himself such a relationship with a servant. Sarah has paid a bitter price. She has lost her child. She is beaten. If the master and her ladyship can see their way to exercising tolerance and kindness and forgiveness towards this unfortunate girl, then who are we, as Christians, to deny this young person ours? I want a show of hands, please. Her ladyship must be informed. All those in favour of allowing Sarah to join us for her meals and to sit with us here in this room, raise your right hands, please.
Ruby! All right. Let the wretched girl have her meals in here. As long as I don't have to sit next to her.
Excuse me, please, Mr. Watson.
I shall inform her ladyship at once of the staff's decision.
Sarah? They've all agreed, even old Roberts. So you'll be with us below stairs, where you belong. Just like old times. We'll have some laughs, won't we? But you've got to promise me one thing, mind.
Got to behave myself, haven't I?
You really have got to this time, Sarah. It's serious.
I will, Rose. I promise.